You wouldn't think that Islamic theocracy and an American biker gang have that much in common, but that's actually what we need to talk about right now. Turns out they both enjoy a little hobby that brings lots of people from all different beliefs and backgrounds together. Violence. That thing older than history itself, whereby one human tries to cause as much damage as possible to another human's body. Gangs, the Iranian government, they love that shit, so they actually make a great team. With in fact, Iran reportedly hiring the Hells Angels, yes, the Hells Angels, as well as other criminal syndicates in Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, and South America to threaten, murder, and kidnap its critics abroad. With all of this getting detailed in a new investigation by the Washington Post, where at least 14 of the 88 assassination, abduction, and other violent plots linked to Iran over the past 5 years involved these groups, which enables this regime to murder other countries' citizens on other countries' soil, yet they maintain plausible deniability. And they don't always hire criminals directly. Instead, they work through middlemen, with perhaps most prominently an alleged heroin trafficking kingpin based in Iran by the name of Naji Sharifi Zindashti. And he emerged as this top dog from a regional drug war a decade ago, and since then, he's been tied to multiple killings of journalists, dissidents, and activists, with US criminal charges alleging that he organized a plot to kill an Iranian defector and his wife living under false identities in Maryland. And to pull it off, Zindashti negotiated a $350K contract with 2 Hells Angels members, including a full patch member by the name of Damian Ryan. But unfortunately for this trio, they communicated through an encrypted messaging service known as Sky ECC, which was a popular software among criminals because it disabled their cameras, microphones, and GPS trackers while adding a kill switch to delete incriminating data. But, fun little thing, in 2021, international authorities infiltrated the service, conducting hundreds of raids and arresting dozens of people, including the Hells Angels pair who were snatched up in Minnesota and Ottawa. Though understand, other times, their plots have succeeded. Take, for example, Poria Zarati. He's an Iranian-British journalist for Iran International, the London-based Saudi-funded satellite and online news platform that bypasses Iran's censors, which is something that became a real threat to the regime after the killing of Mahsa Amini in 2022 when it broadcasted footage of protests. So in 2023, a suspected associate of the Thieves-in-Law and Eastern European criminal network flew to London and was caught photographing Iran International's headquarters, which then prompted the outlet to move its operations to a studio in Washington where it believed that it would be safer. And Zarati in particular was moved in and out of safe houses by London police, given a secret way to signal rescue units, and had monitoring devices installed in his home. But after several months, they returned to their London studios, and Zarati came home to his 4-story apartment building, with him crossing the street to his car on his way to work one afternoon when a disheveled man caught his eye. That man asking for money, but Zarati kept going, and then a second man emerged from behind some foliage, with him then grabbing Zarati's arms, holding him still, while the first man, now smiling broadly, stabbed the journalist's leg repeatedly as he screamed, with them then running away to a getaway car driven by a third man, leaving Zarati bleeding out on the sidewalk. With Zarati, who luckily survived, later telling the BBC that he immediately knew that this attack was political because they didn't take his phones, watch, AirPods, or wallet, with them also going for his leg rather than his heart or his neck, suggesting that they weren't trying to kill him. Instead, they meant to send a warning, but according to British police, the assailants were not from Iran and had no discernible connection to its security services. So although they've been identified, they're still at large, and Iran can deny any involvement. And this is the regime allegedly orchestrated at least 5 lethal plots in recent years against journalists from Iran International. And outsourcing your covert operations to criminal proxies like this, it comes with a few upsides besides just making it harder to pin on you. First, great news for bargain hunters, it's relatively cheap to hire criminals, though of course the downside is that they're less professional. But secondly, even if they fail, the costs are negligible, with a US intelligence analyst telling the Post, rather than putting Iran's own agents at risk, 2 guys they barely know will spend 20 years in jail. And so the regime feels confident enough to go after everyone from an exiled journalist in Brooklyn to a women's rights activist in Switzerland to LGBTQ activists in Germany, with British intelligence and metropolitan police reportedly tracking more than 16 plots from Iran over the past 2 years alone. And as you might remember, last month, a Pakistani man with ties to Iran was arrested for allegedly plotting to hire a hitman to kill a politician who appeared to be Donald Trump, with that apparently meant to be revenge for the former president's order that assassinated the then leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And however you feel about Donald Trump, you better be glad that plot didn't work, because at the very least, if it had, we'd be looking at a historic international crisis, possibly even a war. But also, with all this, we need to keep in mind that even if Iran's gotten more brazen with its use of criminals recently, these assassination plots are not new, right? According to one count, since 1979, the regime's agents have killed more than 440 Iranians outside its borders. And that's not counting all the non-fatal attempts as well. With the point being, if you are an outspoken critic of the regime, there are few places where you can feel truly safe. And apparently, even the United States isn't one of them.